I want to show you a pretty common error that you might run into when you're working in C++. We have here an example of our circle object, which we've already used, and where we're going to print out the radius. We then set the radius and we go and print out the radius again. However, when we go to run this, you're going to find something weird. That is, in both cases, our radius is said to be 4, despite the fact that at one point we implicitly set the radius to be 10. So why did it give us this error? Well, this can be a little bit tricky to debug if you're not careful, or especially if you're kind of new to programming and object-oriented languages. If we come to our circle.cpp file, this is an error I see quite often, and it's got a really easy fix. You'll see here in our set radius, we pass in a double that is a radius, and that makes sense. This is going to be the new radius value. And then we set radius, which is supposed to be our property, equal to radius. However, and maybe you see this now that you're kind of seeing, go, oh, obviously, which radius am I talking about? Am I talking about the parameter that's being passed into our method, or are we talking about the property of our object? Well, most programming languages say wherever it was most recently defined, that's the one I'm going to use. And so in this case, we're passing in a parameter radius, and then we set that value to be that value, which basically does nothing. So we have a couple of solutions. I'm going to show you both of them. The first solution is not as elegant, but it makes sense. And that is like we have up here with our set y. We have a new y, and that's our parameter name. And so we set y equal to new y. And you'll notice that Visual Studio, in our case, has our property and our parameter variables slightly different colored. Now, that's going to be easy to overlook. I'm just going to be honest. That's going to be really easy to overlook. And so you don't want to rely on that. And your editor may not show this at all. If you don't give it a different name completely, how can you overcome this? Well, that's with a reference called this. That is, I'm going to write this with an arrow, just as if I was using a reference to an object. And now I'm saying, okay, I'm talking about the radius of this object. Which object? The one that we're in. So now radius, when I just specified radius, that's my parameter, and that's going to be set to the property of my object. If I go and run this, you'll see the first time we run it, it's 4, just as it was when we created it. Then we set the radius to 10, and when we print out its radius a second time, we see that it's 10. We have solved our error. So that this property method, so this reference allows you to reference the properties of an object and eliminates a lot of potential errors. In fact, if we close out our runtime, we can see that we have these all over the place, such as where we have set x, we have this exact same error. But I can use this property method anywhere I want. However, I cannot use this on a static property. And that's because as a static property, it doesn't belong to a specific object. It belongs to everyone. So that's a little bit different, but for all of our properties that are not static, that belong to individual objects, we can use this method.